7:35 in the morning, live from Tokyo, Japan, as I've been doing every single day. And I've got a few things I need to say to start this video off, to do with what happens if the live stream cuts out, because that happened yesterday to my surprise. And also what I say at the start of every video is about how I do these lives and things like that. And also in today's video we'll be talking about how close the coronavirus has actually gotten to us here in Japan, because right there behind me there, over the river, it is potentially that close, so it could be right on my doorstep. So we'll get into all that today. So about the live stream cutting out, in fact, you know what I'll do first, what I do first every single time, which is talk about how YouTube sent content creators an email a while ago that said coronavirus content will not be monetized and you won't get any benefit from it. And it was from that email that I decided to go live and to give you guys an authentic view from Tokyo, Japan, about what's going on in the city right now in terms of the coronavirus. So you've got a live window into the city that's not hyped up, it's not media, it's not propaganda, it's not government, it's just some dude in a park with a camera going live, and you can see for yourself what's going on in the city. So and it's because it doesn't get monetized, because it's not going to be of benefit to me or my channel, that I do this, because I absolutely hate clickbait, and I hate people making profit off of other people's loss or other people's challenges or weaknesses and things like that. So because YouTube very clearly said no way are you guys getting monetized for talking about the coronavirus, I said, well then, if it's going to be an honorable thing, if it's going to be something ethical, that I'm in. And then you can see right here that we are in Tokyo, Japan. There's Tokyo Sky Tree, which is one of the most central features of Tokyo, Japan, so you know that we are live from the park there. The other thing is that if this does cut out, if the live stream does cut out, what I'll do is I'll come back again one more time, and what I'll do is I'll call like this bit part 1 and the next bit part 2. I won't come back a third time if it cuts out. We'll just have to live with that, and hopefully it won't become an issue, and we'll be able to keep this thing going. But if the live stream does cut out and you're watching this later and you're like thinking, you know, what's he talking about, but then in about 5 minutes time, mid-sentence, I just go cut and you have no idea what's going on, then just look for part 2. You'll know there's a part 2 because this one will be called part 1. But hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully we'll have a nice clean live stream today, which we haven't had for the last 2 days, and hopefully people will be able to check in and see what's happening live from Tokyo, Japan, about the situation. Now I do shoot live from this park every morning around about 7:30. The reason that I do that is because I think shooting live gives people an authentic view of the situation, rather than if I was shooting you know, a video and then editing it and stuff like that. It would be less authentic, and it would be less, to be honest, to be frank, it would be less trustworthy. You would not be able to trust me as much if this was an edited video and it was edited, you know, for cutting out things I don't want to particularly show, or if I want to show things in a certain light, it would be able to be edited. But because it's a live stream, one shot straight through, then you know that there's no cutting going on, there's no editing going on, and it is an authentic look at the city on what is a beautiful morning, but it's cold. In fact, it's cold enough for me to put a glove on my right hand, which is holding the tripod. So I'm going to stick a little glove on there. I won't put it on my left hand, because if the live stream does start to cut out because of a connection issue with my phone, I have an option to reconnect very, very quickly, and I need to do that with my left hand that doesn't have a glove on, so my finger will be able to hit the screen. So yeah, fingers crossed our live stream will keep going today. It is very cold. I have been in the last couple of mornings going up to this area over here and showing people the clock, just so that they know that it is actually right now 7:38 in the morning. It's a really great place for me to shoot these live videos from, because it really does give you guys a window into what is happening on the ground here in Tokyo, Japan. So if I turn around and see there, I don't know if you can see the clock face there, but it's around about 20 to 8 in the morning on Friday the 6th of March. I think it's the 6th today. And this is my 7th consecutive day of doing these live streams. And to be honest, like I said at the top of this video, it looks like the coronavirus is on my doorstep. It looks like the coronavirus has finally made its way throughout, you know, all the different options to get to Japan and get to Tokyo and get to me, to Tokyo Butter, because it's all about me. Morning, Mo. Happy to see you here in the live stream. Appreciate it. Hopefully it won't get cut off today. But yeah, there's an awful lot going on in the world right now in terms of this coronavirus situation, and a lot of it worries me, and not much of it worries me about the disease itself. So Responsible Drinkers Morning. I'm flying to Japan in a few hours. Responsible drinkers, you're welcome. Come to Japan. It's a wonderful place. You can see it's a beautiful day today. Cold though. But they are talking about implementing a state of emergency in Japan. I don't know if they've done it yet, but a state of emergency would give the government power to do things that normally they wouldn't be allowed to do. So, for example, if they need to take control of a mask making factory and churn out a bunch of masks and then give them away at cost, then the makers of those masks wouldn't be able to stop them, for example. So the government suddenly has these extra powers, but they also have the powers to curtail the society in general, to order people to stay at their homes, to order people to not go to school, to force businesses to shut down, to force, say, the metro and the subway lines to stop working. So they are talking about implementing emergency powers here, a state of emergency. And I know that California actually is in a state of emergency right now. So the extra powers that get granted by a state of emergency temporarily to a government, I would say that is a significant signal of where we are with this situation. And if they haven't yet, but if Japan does implement a state of emergency, it will certainly change things quite dramatically on the ground. Right now, as I say every morning, we're pretty much free to move around. People are still going about their daily work. So Mo Gaines, geez, that's frightening. It is actually frightening, Mo, and it'll get even more frightening when I tell you how close the coronavirus has gotten to us, which I'll get to in a minute. But I still want to do these kind of things. If we look down here, there you go, going by there. There's a lad on his bike going out for his morning bike run. I still want to do this every morning if I can, which is the best angle. There you go, to show you the highway in the background with trucks and cars and buses still moving on it. Let me just have a look at it myself. Yeah, there goes a couple of cars, a couple of trucks and things like that. And so you do get the sense that the city is still moving, but I also get the sense that we're actually maybe on day one of the next level of what they're going to do for this. I wouldn't be surprised if this video here marks day one of a real ramp up in what's happening with the coronavirus in Tokyo, Japan. Our father and son, who sometimes play catch here, are not there this morning, which is terribly worrying. But I've been optimistic about this so far and about what the situation means with this coronavirus and stuff like that. There's a guy out for his morning jog there. But there is a concern. Yes, the coronavirus, I did say, is kind of getting a little bit closer to your reporter in the field here, and I'll explain what I mean by that by standing right here. I live in, where do I live? I live in which one? I live in Arakawa-ku, and Arakawa-ku is a district of Tokyo. I don't know how other cities break up their cities, counties or districts or municipalities, or there's a lot of different ways that you can cut up a city and segment it off, especially a city as big as Tokyo. Tokyo and its surrounding areas have 38 million people living in them. 38 million people live in and around Tokyo. That's insane. Bigger than many countries' populations in the world. I come from the UK, where the population of the country itself is about 60 million, and then I grew up in Scotland, where the population is around about 5 or 6 million. So 38 million people in a city, that's quite a lot. But so to break that up, to organize a city, you have to break it up into parts. And the way they do it in Japan is, what we say in English is we call them wards, and what they say in Japanese, they call them ku. So this is, I live in Adachi-ku, I think it is. Is it Adachi-ku I live in? No, it's not, it's Arakawa-ku. I live in Arakawa-ku. So right here is Arakawa-ku. This is Arakawa-ku. I'm facing the rising sun, so it's a bit hard for me to see what's going on. But behind me here, this is Arakawa-ku. And then you've got the river here, and that river is the Sumida-ku, and I think across the river is called, that river is called the Sumida-gawa, and I think across the river is Sumida-ku. And then every morning I tend to show you guys this this junction down here, where's the junction? In the background behind me somewhere there's a junction there. But beyond that is Taito-ku. Okay, so we're in Arakawa-ku. Across there, I think it's called Sumida-ku, but anyway, there's a ku over there. Down there is Taito-ku. And then this big building behind me here, the sun makes it really hard for me to see this all, but this building here is across the river. That's Adachi-ku. So literally Adachi-ku is within eyesight. I can see some of the buildings in Adachi-ku. I can see, you know, that high rise there. I don't know if in the video you might be able to make it out, but that there is the bridge across the river that goes from Arakawa-ku on my side across the river to Adachi-ku on the other side. And yesterday in the news it was reported that a family in Adachi-ku has been infected with the coronavirus. So literally next door, the neighboring ku, the neighboring ward to us here in Tokyo, Japan, to Arakawa-ku, there's a family there who have the coronavirus. And what's more worrying than anything else is that they've had the coronavirus for like a week and they didn't realize it, and they went around their daily routine for 1 week, coughing and spluttering and and going to the shops, and kids going to school and to preschool and stuff like that. Now, all along I've said that I'm not all that worried about the virus itself. The virus itself is not a huge concern to me. So yeah, basically on my doorstep, Mo, literally, yeah, right there, right back. It's behind me. The coronavirus is right behind me. But I will continue. I haven't been all that concerned about the virus itself and what the effect the virus will have on me. I'm a relatively healthy person. That doesn't mean to say it wouldn't strike me down, but then again, influenza might strike me down, or pneumonia might strike me down, or measles, or chickenpox, or whatever, or you know, I don't know, the bird flu or something. I mean, you can count many numbers of different things that are a threat to us in the world. So the actual virus itself, to me, isn't any more threatening than influenza or any of the other seasonal sort of things. I've had norovirus a couple of times. Anyone know what norovirus is? Literally, and I'm sorry if this is a bit too much information for you guys, but literally blasting out of both ends. The norovirus is disgusting in many, many ways. And I would much rather never have the norovirus again. A horrible thing. And Alex, I hope you agree with me that the norovirus is disgusting, or that you're not too worried about the virus. But here's the thing: if the virus does go sort of epidemic, you know, if it starts to spread very, very quickly throughout the city and therefore throughout the country, the knock-on effects for society are going to be quite profound. Quite profound. The numbers for Japan are pretty low. They are, yes, they're very low for Japan. We've only had 300 cases on the ground, so you forget about that cruise ship that's docked off of the coast. Not too worried about the virus. Yeah, the virus itself is you get a cough and a fever for most people. But the thing is, and this is really interesting as well, that I found out from watching the news yesterday, that one of the situations, one of the concerns is that nobody's immune. And I was like, what does that mean? What do you mean nobody's immune? And what it is that with viruses that are out there in the world, we build up an immunity to it as a group of animals, as a herd. We build up an immunity. Some people are immune to the common cold. Some people are immune to influenza, or their immune systems have already faced the virus that causes influenza or colds and things like that. And the body is ready for it. The body's built up a resistance to it, so that they don't just sort of like get hammered by it every single year when it comes around. So because flu and the cold and things like that have been in and around our societies for many years, our bodies and our immune systems have built up a tolerance to that, and they're able to fight it off. But with this new coronavirus, it's brand new, so nobody has that built-in natural ability to fight this thing, because our bodies have never seen it before. And that's quite an important fact I'd never really appreciated before. So, and that's why older people and people who already have pre-existing medical conditions. That's why they're at risk, is because their body doesn't already have that built-in immunity to fight against this illness that they've never met before, which is not dissimilar to when Europeans went to America, and a lot of the simple like colds and sniffles and things like that we took for granted in Europe and we could fight off very, very easily. Then when they went to the Americas, where people in the Americas had never faced them before, they were quite devastating. And I think that's an issue in this that I hadn't really appreciated, and that hasn't really been appreciated. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up, whoever gave me that. I hadn't really appreciated that that we don't have like that a natural defense against this yet, because we've never faced it before. So so the virus itself, like a cough and a fever, doesn't freak me out too much. I've had coughs and fevers before. I had a cold earlier this winter season and I coughed. So that side of it doesn't worry me too much, but the effect it could have on society itself, with people panicking, panic buying, I'm already seeing around the world quite a lot. That's a concern. Or if the government goes ahead and declares a national emergency, a state of emergency, and starts shutting things down and taking control of certain parts of society without permission, basically, because that's what a state of emergency gives them the power to do. That kind of thing could have a massive effect on us all. So will queues for sneaker drops be short? This is my plan. You've rumbled me, responsible drinkers. It's been my plan all along to find a way around this. Starbucks, good morning. To find a way to get sneakers, is to find what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to lower the costs on StockX. I think that if the stock market's dropping down, maybe StockX will drop down as well, and I'll be able to get my hands on some cheap sneakers. So but all joking aside, I know some people are very worried about this situation, and they have a right to be. I've said all along I'm worried about what's happening in Iran, because of the number of cases there and the weakened infrastructure that they don't have compared to places in the West. And I'm also worried about what will happen if this gets into Africa, particularly because of the healthcare system and the infrastructure to deal with something like this. You could see quite an enormous death toll, to be honest. To be frank, you could see a very, very large death toll in Africa if this thing spreads out in there. So I've always said all along that I totally understand that what we're doing here in Japan maybe isn't actually going to have an effect in protecting the likes of myself against this situation, but it will have an effect in trying to stop spreading this thing in a way that people out there who are vulnerable to it will be protected. So it's a herd mentality, and the herd is trying to do its best to protect the weakest links in the herd. We're circling the wagons, as it were. So even though I myself, and I'm hopefully not going to be in too much danger, but let's go back to the point of today's video, which was to talk about how the coronavirus is literally on my doorstep. So right there is the neighboring borough of Tokyo, Japan, the neighboring section, which is called Adachi-ku, and I'm here in Arakawa-ku. And they did find a family in Adachi-ku now that has the coronavirus, and also that family have spent a week living their lives thinking that they just had common colds because they didn't have fevers, and they've gone around and lived a life for a week, going to schools, going to parks, going to events, going shopping, going to shopping malls, going to supermarkets, all of those kind of things that you would do in your normal life, thinking, oh, this is a seasonal cold because I don't have a fever, and apparently the coronavirus has a fever as one of the symptoms, and then a week later they found out that it was actually coronavirus. So you've got a whole family, and by whole family I mean 3 generations, the children, the parents, the grandparents, who have gone about their daily lives for a week with the coronavirus, and built into that you've also got to think about the fact that they closed the schools for 4 of the days that this family have been sick. So these kids have been going to the park, hanging out with other kids, hanging out with other families, a lot of contact between them and other kids, which maybe they wouldn't have so much of in a school because they'd be sit down and kind of separated off. So this family that's literally just across the river from me, on my doorstep, could potentially be that signal that we're going into the next phase of this thing. So the toilet paper situation is tenuous. People are beginning to stockpile here. They haven't yet. And I know there's bigger news in places like Australia and the UK where people have actually started stockpiling faster than they have in Japan. And that's the kind of thing that the government could take control of in a state of emergency, and just take control of the toilet paper industry and then ration it off and limit the number of toilet paper rolls people are allowed to get and allowed to buy. So and if they do declare that state of emergency, I wouldn't mind. I would expect to see those kind of things happening and stuff like that. So. But that's talk for next week. They're talking about potentially declaring a state of emergency next week, which they haven't yet done so at the moment. So we'll see if that comes down the line. I'm just switching gloves. My right arm was getting sort of sore holding the camera up, so I'll switch gloves and might bring a 36 roll to trade. I mean, yeah. The thing is, that's what we are now. That's what we've become, as a society of trading toilet roll. But it's interesting what becomes a commodity and what becomes valued depending on the circumstances. If you came up here with a roll of 36 bars of gold, of course that would be a commodity people would like. But the value in 36 rolls of toilet paper has suddenly gone skyrocketed. And again, it's something I respect the sneaker community for tremendously, is that they did not price gouge Kobe Bryant's death. And a lot of the sites that restock and resell, memorabilia or trade secondhand goods and things like that, froze the prices on Kobe Bryant's death so that people wouldn't price gouge and just make a profit off of somebody else's loss. But that kind of thing on a national scale is the kind of thing we could be facing here in Tokyo, Japan, that they will take away from the companies the ability to set prices, and they'll legally set the price of a roll of toilet roll or how many rolls that somebody can get. That's the kind of power that a state of emergency would give to a government, and that's the state of play right here just now in Tokyo, Japan, is that people are beginning to kind of be aware of the potential for the need to stockpile things, and it isn't a need. We don't need to stockpile things unless we need to. What I mean by that is the virus itself doesn't have any requirement that we need extra toilet paper. I talked about norovirus earlier, and if there was a norovirus epidemic, I would definitely stockpile toilet paper, because you need toilet paper if you get noro. Holy moly. I once had norovirus one week, and the next week I ran Tokyo Marathon. I kid you not. I had norovirus one week, and the very next week I ran Tokyo Marathon. It took me 6.5 hours. It was quite the thing, but I wasn't for stopping. I was like, I'm going to keep trundling, and if I have to stop, I'll stop, and I didn't have to, so I kept going. But in terms of toilet paper, yes, the norovirus is definitely something that you would you'd be stockpiling toilet paper on. So do you know what the local cough medicine equivalent to like bedrooms is called? I need some cough medicine. I mean, here you'd just go to the doc, and the doc would prescribe you some, and you'd go grab whatever he prescribes. So the medicine here, like over-the-counter medicine here, is not a big business. I mean, it's not a non-existent business, but I think in other countries over-the-counter medicines are quite no, not at the 7-Eleven. I wouldn't think you could get it at the 7-Eleven. I've never tried to get it at the 7-Eleven, let me put it that way. But they do have drugstores here, like stores, if you know what I mean. If you're from the UK, the idea of a drugstore, I suppose, boots the chemist like that. So people are panicking it will cause a special level of stupidity. The panic buying has begun in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, if it started in Trinidad and Tobago, the most relaxed, coolest, calmest, hippest, with it people in the world, then we know we've got a problem. So Trinidad and Tobago, I definitely have to go there someday, man. Mo, can I come visit you? Maybe someday I'll get together. Maybe my channel will pay for me to come visit Trinidad and Tobago someday. At the rate I'm going, it'll probably take about 20 years, but maybe. But anyway, yeah, so the toilet paper situation and the medicine situation. Medicines are still readily available. Thank you very much. I would love to someday. I really would. Medicines are readily available, and they're readily available in that kind of. There's a 3-tier level to getting medicines in Japan. I absolutely. The girls is my daughter and my wife, by the way, everybody. That wasn't Mo like shouting out, "Bring the girls!" Whoop whoop. That was like bring the family. If anyone's reading the chat, so although I could bring the girls, whoop whoop. I'm way too old for that. But yes, so there's 3 levels to buy in medicines here. You can buy them some across the counter, but they're very temporary measure medicines and they're not particularly strong. But from the chemist or the drugstore or whatever you want to call it, and then the next level up is actually like proper, attached to the hospital medical care drugstores, if you like, so pharmacies maybe we could call that, and then actually getting a prescription from the doctor, all of which are very easy in Japan. There are many medical facilities here. I think Japan has one of the best, I know exactly what you mean, man, I'm pulling your leg. I think Japan is one of the best medical care facilities in the world. I think Japan's medical system is phenomenal. I equate it, because of the way the insurance system is, so it's private medical care, but 99.9% of people have insurance. Okay, that might be insane to a lot of people. Okay, private medical care, but 99% of people. What would people even stockpile? Just pink. I don't think people are stockpiling medicines yet. Starbucks, they haven't gone down that road yet, and I don't know if they will. To be honest, I don't think that's where people will go with this, because they're more in the prevention sort of stage. They're not really thinking about the dealing with the symptoms stage kind of thing. So, but in terms of the healthcare here, the medical care here. Everybody has insurance. 99.9% of people have insurance to pay for things. So lemsips and tunes, yeah. But the healthcare system, it's like a private healthcare system, but you all have insurance, so you all have access to it. And it's amazing. My daughter, when she was born, had many difficulties. She's very fine now. She's a beautiful girl, happy and powerful and very healthy. But in total, when she was born, she racked up $500,000 of medical costs. $500,000, man. Yeah, I get a medical every year for free. Yourself, and I couldn't quite catch that one, Mo, sorry. Let me see if I press this, can I catch what Mo just said? Top chat. Prevention and keeping yourself indoors, yeah. Just cover your mouth when you cough. How about that? But yeah, $500,000 of medical bills, man. And I didn't pay a cent. I didn't pay a single cent. So my daughter got $500,000 of private healthcare level, no waiting in line, CT scans daily if needed. Just an incredible level of care for 6 months, $500,000, and I didn't pay a single penny. The only thing I paid for my daughter's care was her nappies, her diapers. Everything else, I kid you not, absolutely everything else was either covered by my insurance or covered by the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. So my daughter got a private level of health care for free, because the system of Medicare and medicine in Japan is like it's publicly protected. It's private, but it's government regulated in a way that they don't like whack up the prices insanely. And they have special dispensation for children and things like that. So I think the system in Japan is phenomenal. I have the utmost respect for the medical system in the UK with the NHS, free healthcare for all at the point of delivery and stuff like that. So I'm just reading. Right, and that's one of the worries about the NHS, is that if there's too much pressure on the system and they can't deal with all that pressure and all those people kind of coming through the door looking for care, looking for medicine, what happens to the people who have been on waiting lists and who have been struggling really hard with other situations, and this coronavirus comes along and dominates that, and then we can't get the care that we need for everybody that needs it out there. So but yeah, Japan has a phenomenal infrastructure, a phenomenal medical system. I'm fairly confident it will be able to deal with it, and then any visitors coming to Japan as well will have access to it. One of the strange things about Japanese medicine, though, is that they don't really do emergency medicine very well. So in the middle of the night, if you break your leg, they'll make you wait until the morning to see the doctor, and it's like, well, that's the one thing that's a little bit different to across the world. I'm used to sort of that medical care in the ER, you know, the emergency room, the intensive that you get at like the A&E on the spot. But in Japan, like I broke my leg on a Sunday, and they sent me away and said come back tomorrow morning. Unfortunately, it wasn't like my leg was hanging limp or anything like that, but it was one of the biggest hospitals in the city as well, called St. Luke's. But anyway, I'm gonna have to chip off, guys, because it's getting on for half an hour, and half an hour is about the time when my phone starts to die on me. We got cut off the other day, 2 days ago, when my battery died and I had no warning. Usually a little sign comes up on the screen that says 20%, 10%, that kind of stuff. But what I will do is I'll leave you with this very optimistic scene. No, I'm happy to give the updates, guys. It's my pleasure. Let me see. Can I see the guys? Where are they? There's one. There's a guy there. There. A couple of guys out doing their morning routine. You know, still exercising. You've still got people in the park. So the city still hasn't ground to a halt. But I am worried about the fact that the neighbouring district just behind me here, where that building is, that district over there, has its first cases of coronavirus, and those people have been walking around shopping, going to school when the schools were open, playing with friends for a week before realizing that they had the coronavirus. So this could very well mark day one of the bigger situation, the spread within the city and things like that. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully if it does, you know, people take care. And I will leave us with one final thing. Let's not discriminate based on the coronavirus, please. You know, I've been seeing stuff about stuff out there. I will, Mo. I'll have a blessed day. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate you dropping by, man. But I've seen stuff out there of people targeting, you know, Asian-looking people, or, you know, you've got coronavirus, go back to your country, and that kind of stuff. Let's stop doing that, guys, okay? You know, this is a message to the world that a virus doesn't discriminate, so why should we? Let's put it that way. A virus will jump freely biologically from anyone to anyone, and we're discriminating based on the basis of something that doesn't discriminate itself. So let's get that out of the way. Let's focus our energies on, you know, prevention and trying to keep the world a safer place for those people who are vulnerable, and let's, you know, deal with this thing. Let's respond to it instead of react to it, and let's do our best to be the best people that we can be, even during these difficult times. So with that being said, guys, time for me to sign off. Thank you guys very much for dropping into the live. I will be back tomorrow morning around about 7:30 Japan time. It'll be a Saturday, so it'll be interesting to see what the park looks like on a Saturday morning. But for now, from Tokyo, Japan, it's time to say farewell, and I will see you guys real soon.